Welcome back to Take One Gaming. This is Ash, and today I'm going to go over my top 7 characters. All 7 of these characters are great, and you will not be sorry for using gold to level them up and ability scrolls. Most of the characters are plug and play, and they work in quite a few different squads, so we'll get into it. I would say number 1 for me would be Tromgar. His kit is so good as a tank. I mean, if you look at Crushing Blow here, deals 210% of physical damage to an enemy, and it's got a 35% chance to stun the target for 1 turn. That is great. As soon as I was able to get this skill unlocked, it made him so much better. And Shield of the People. Tromgar assumes a defensive stance. Another use of the ability switches to an offensive stance. This effect cannot be prevented or removed. Change stance applies taunt and counterattack for 2 turns. I know this was one of the main reasons why I was able to unlock Soleus. His taunt on his first turn made him so much better. I think he is my favorite tank in the game and one of my overall favorites in the game. Let's see, Second Wind. Tromgar gains 2 regeneration stacks for 2 turns. That's really nice once you start losing some health and you don't have or if you know your healer has a cooldown on their healing skill. Let's see, Veteran Tactician. So at tier 6, when in defensive stance, physical armor is increased by 30%, and offensive stance, physical damage increases by 30%. I just haven't upgraded this just because I've been saving scrolls for certain characters. And I think having the first 2 skills at 6 is the priority on him. He's got a leadership. I think his leadership is good once you're not using Rantha. When you start using him as your lead, usually you're putting in hard orc into an all orc squad. But like I said, he is probably my favorite character in the game. Next, we're going to talk about Kyra. As soon as I unlocked her, I started working on her right away. She is such a great character. As you can see on her Arrow of Chaos, she deals 230% of physical damage to an enemy, a 50% chance to inflict ability block for 2 turns. That is great, especially when you're going up against another Kyra and you're actually able to get the ability block so she can't stealth everyone on the opposite squad. Hail of Arrows deals 240% of physical damage to all enemies, so it's an AoE. 30% chance to daze the enemy for 2 turns when dealing damage. What I'll do, I'm sure most people, they'll hit this, go dark, because you get your invisibility, and then once she goes again, you use your Hail of Arrows. We can look at go dark, gains invisibility and applies it to all allied healers, tacticians, and fighters for 2 turns. So it automatically gives, even if your tank doesn't have his taunt up, he's the only one left. So, and this next part really helps out too. Applies counterattack to all allied tanks for 2 turns. It's just great. I usually use her with Tromgar. She stealths, Tromgar gets counterattack, and even if he doesn't have his taunt up, he's the only character that they hit. So it's pretty much he's acting as a tank, even though he doesn't have taunt up. Also, it says restores 10% of the turn meter to all allies. If Venomate is on the battlefield, he receives haste for 2 turns. And sudden attack. When Kyra is invisible, her attacks deal 30% more damage. If Venomate is in the party, he receives the same buff. So I still have to work on my Venomate. She is a great character. You won't regret putting any of your resources into her. She is a great character to be used on pretty much every team. The next character, Hard Orc. He's number 3 on my list. As you can see, I'm almost to unlocking him, but I will wait until I have 80 total shards. That way when I do summon him, there'll be an offer in the store for 65 shards of him. So I will definitely be doing that because that'll save so much time farming him. So let's look at Punch in the Teeth. He deals 240% of physical damage to an enemy and inflicts bleeding for 2 turns. Let's see, Power Solo deals 200% of physical damage to all enemies, a 70% chance to ability block for 2 turns. 70% chance, that's pretty darn good. Definitely worth putting scrolls on him. Let's see, Devil's Horns gains cheat death, regeneration, and a damage increase, and applies it to 4 allies for 2 turns. So that means everybody in your party gets cheat death, they gain regeneration and damage increase, but that cheat death is really nice. And we have Wall of Sound. Hard Orc removes 1 debuff from 4 random allies at the start of the turn. So it's a passive, so every turn it looks like he will remove 1 debuff from the rest of the party. That's a pretty darn good passive skill. And number 4 on my list, Snorri. Snorri is awesome AoE damage. As you can see, I'm still working on mine, but you pair him up with R or Revel and all that, and even Venomate, all of their AoE DPS will just melt a team. Let's take a look at Battle Leap. Deals 250% of physical damage to an enemy. Snorri has a 50% chance to gain an accuracy increase for 2 turns. And here's his AoE, Deadly Whirlwind. So he deals 220% of physical damage to all enemies and inflicts bleeding for 2 turns. His AoE is just, he does so much damage. Even my Snorri with these 2, oh no, I have 3. Even that, he hits really hard. Berserker Stance. So Snorri assumes a Berserk Stance, gaining 50% of turn meter and removing 3 debuffs. While in Berserk Stance, Snorri gains 25% crit chance and plus 40 speed. This effect cannot be prevented or removed. Using the ability again will cancel the Berserk Stance. So I just usually go into combat, and that's the first thing I do is I throw up Berserk Stance and Dragon Hunter. Snorri gains 30% magical armor and 30% tenacity while not in Berserk Stance. If Freezard is on the battlefield, he receives the same buff. So those two have some synergy together. And not to mention Snorri, he's got the Tactician Warrior and Dragon Slayer tags, so he can fill in the spot for quite a few tournaments with those tags, and his DPS will be a great addition to your squad. Next one is Soleus. Soleus, I haven't summoned him yet. I'm going to as soon as I can afford to buy the offer once I summon him, so I can buy the offer and get him with some gear and all the scrolls and everything. So Raging Sun basic ability deals 200% of magic damage to an enemy, a 20% chance to restore 1 turn of a random ally. If Nightingale is on the battlefield, she is summoned for help. So these two, Soleus and Nightingale, have really good synergy with each other. Lightwave heals all allies for 550% of Soleus's magic damage. AoE heal, great. He's probably the best healer in game right now. Let's take a look at Ammo's Blessing. And he also has, that's another heal. Heals an ally for 40% of their max health. Applies armor increase, tenacity increase, haste, a damage increase, and cheat death for 2 turns. That's just an awesome skill. And Inspiration, it's a passive ability. When the battle starts, all allied human defenders receive armor increase for 3 turns. All allied human healers and tacticians receive cheat death for 3 turns. And all allied human fighters receive a potency increase for 3 turns. If Nightingale is on the battlefield, she receives all of these buffs as well. And his leader ability. This is a long one. Oh, yeah. So allied members of the order receive a 25% physical damage increase and a 25% magic damage increase. All allied humans receive a 10% counterattack chance increase for each living human in the party. So to take advantage of Soleus's skills, you want Nightingale in the team, and then probably 3 humans. Freezard's really good. I think he would be great. Snorri is really good. And then a tank. So you could do, I think Little Baddie is the best human tank right now. Let's see what else. All allied elves receive a 5% crit chance, so that's Nightingale. Increase for each living elf in the party. All allied pandas receive a 5% potency increase for each living panda in the party. And number 6 on my list is Zantara. I pair her with Kyra, and those two are pretty much on every team I use, as long as you can use an order and a clan character in one squad. She is on my arena team, and I use her every day to climb in tower. I've almost maxed out her skills, as you can see. So her first one is Hell's Whip, dealing 200% of magic damage to her enemy, and then she heals the lowest ally by 100% of the damage dealt. So if she does 5,000 damage, she's going to heal the lowest health ally for that amount. And this is her heal. Zantara sacrifices 25% of her health, healing all allies by 500% of her magic damage. Just a great, it's only got, the cooldown's really good. Just a great heal. She's my healer for my arena team and my tower team. You don't hear people talking too much about Zantara. I think maybe it's because her node is on one of the higher nodes. Her character shard's on a node that takes a pretty good team to 3-star it. Kiss of Death. She deals 330% of magic damage to an enemy, recovering the same amount of health. So once you use your sacrifice, next turn usually I use Kiss of Death to heal herself back up. And her passive, Zantara restores 1 turn of a random ability at the start of the turn. Restores 1 turn of a random ability to a random ally. And number 7 on my list, Nightingale. Her nodes are farther along in the game too, so she's not the easiest farm. Her DPS right now is awesome. I've seen her hit and one-shot characters. Let's take a look at her kit. So Moon and Star deals 240% of magic damage to an enemy and 50% chance to deal damage through a shield. Veil of Silence deals 420% chance of magic damage to an enemy, ability block for 2 turns. That's really good. She hits hard and she gets to ability block a character or an enemy. Midnight Glow gains a damage increase and applies it to all allies for 2 turns. Night Priestess is her passive. Nightingale removes 1 debuff from herself and Soleus and 1 buff from a random enemy. at the start of the turn. If Soleus is on the battlefield, she removes 2 buffs instead. Yeah, definitely. She's definitely one of the more powerful characters in game right now. Here's her leadership ability. She would be used in the leader spot in the Ember event that's going to be starting in the next week. I hope you enjoyed this video. My top 7 characters are what I feel are the best in game right now. Number 1, Tromgar, great. The best tank in the game right now. 2, Kyra. She can stealth everyone except for the tank, and she gives the tank counter chance, which is great because I always use her with Tromgar. Number 3, Hard Orc. A little bit more of a difficult farm, but his kit is so good. 4, Snorri. AoE, DPS, human. Great with Soleus to get his buffs. Number 5, Soleus. Soleus is a great leader, healer. He is probably one of the most powerful characters in game right now. And number 6 is Xantera, great healer. I use her with Kyra, and those two kick some butt on my arena team and on my tower team. And number 7, Nightingale, great DPS, and her synergy with Soleus makes her a great character. Her kit makes her one of the best characters in game. Pair her up with Soleus. Those two are an awesome duo. Great synergy together. So using her on pretty much every aspect of the game. Just like all these characters, most of them are plug and play, and they can work in pretty much every team. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button please, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, and you'll be notified when I upload a new video. So thank you all for watching, and have a great day.